All right. So, I have to admit, I've never been a fan of Snoop Dogg when he was a popular rapper because at that point I was just not into rap. He seemed like a fun guy lately and, you know, the kind of guy you want to hang out with. And then he pulls shit like this. Snoop Dogg criticizes LGBTQ plus representation in children's films. They're putting it everywhere. Okay, so do you have a problem with straight people being everywhere? Because that's basically what you are whining about. That children's film have people in it. LGBT plus people exist. And every film is its own little world. So to say it's everywhere, well, gay people are everywhere. LGBT plus people are everywhere. They're not at this in the same quantities as straight people, but they exist everywhere. So okay, that's not a good that doesn't bode well for Snoop Dogg not being a homophobe. But let's continue. Snoop Dogg says he's scared to go to the movies due to what he perceives as an increase in LGBTQ plus representation in children's films. Seriously? Now, granted, I don't go to rom coms because, well, that was never my thing. And longtime viewers of my other channel would know that not a big fan of romance. I mean, occasionally I find one representation, one or two that's cute, and I'm okay with it. But for the most part, no. So, um, if it's well done to me, I'm fine with it. But I'm not scared to watch a movie for fear that I might see romance because there are certain projects that I expect it because of the way the characters are portrayed. I can point out from a mile away what characters they're going to try to put together, but that doesn't scare me. I mean, well, depending on my feelings at the moment and the project, maybe I will be a little scared to watch certain things. Like I stopped watching Discovery because I was just sick and tired of the way they were portraying Michael, especially in her relationships. It was just so fucking annoying. It seemed like they were concentrating on those. And it's like, no, it's not what Star Trek is supposed to be. I enjoyed watching the married couple, the gay married couple, because, it was a nice, sweet, they loved each other, they were cute together, but we didn't feel the need to follow them into bed. I mean, we would occasionally see them lying in bed, but as a married couple, they're just dressed, getting ready for bed, chatting, maybe snuggling a little bit, but it's not the we must be playing tonsil hockey constantly. So yeah, I just got sick of it, stopped watching it. Which like I said was too bad because there were a lot of other characters that I really liked. So maybe you could say I was scared, but it was a shame because I didn't like how they were portraying a character that they were really pushing and making them the star when it's an ensemble cast. I mean, for freak's sake, it was Star Trek. So that was annoying. Um, but I don't know if I would use the term scared. Maybe I would, which doesn't make me a heterophobe. It just means that, there are just certain things that get annoying after a while. Now, but to just blanket dislike an entire group of people because a children's film might show them existing, that's an entirely different thing. Obviously, if I was going to do that, I would not be able to watch much of anything because straight people are everywhere. And like I said, in higher quantities than the LGBT plus community because, well, statistics. Anyway, what you see is what you see, and they're putting it everywhere, he said on a recent episode of the It's Giving podcast. What the fuck does that mean? What you see is what you see. Yeah? And they're putting it everywhere. Yeah, that's what films do. They are a visual medium. I don't get what the problem is here. The rapper and pop culture personality described taking his grandson to see 2022's Lightyear and being shocked to discover that one of the animated film's protagonists has two mothers. Okay. They're like, she had a baby with another woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie is like, Papa Snoop, how is she having a baby with a woman? She's a woman. Okay, so at that point, you can mention that they didn't have a kid together, that they either adopted or they used another scientific way of, or if you don't even have to mention, because obviously if your grandson's watching Lightyear, you don't even have to get into the nitty gritty of, oh, well, there's surrogacy, there is IVF. You don't even have to get into that. That there are medical ways to make a baby. You could just simply say, maybe they adopted. Maybe this girl is adopted. End of discussion. Or, here's a better one. I don't know. But it wasn't biological. And that would satisfy the kid. That there are multiple reasons that you just know that it wasn't biological. Because nobody is claiming that it was biological. I mean, it could be one of the mom's biological kid, but you don't have to go into that. You could just simply say, I don't know, or maybe she's adopted. Either way, short, simple answers which should satisfy the grandson. So, Snoop recalled thinking, oh shit, I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Wait, you don't know that movies have situations in them that might not be situations you're familiar with? I'm sorry, what movies do you watch exactly that you don't learn anything from them? Especially if it's a children's film, because that's generally the point of children's films, is to teach you something. But his grandson pressed on, asking, they just said she had a baby. They're both women. How does she have a baby? The rapper reflects that this experience fucked me up. I'm like scared to go to the movies. Y'all throwing me in the middle of shit that I don't have an answer for. Again, I don't know is a perfectly good answer. Or like I said, if you had an ounce of intelligence, which I'm starting to question whether Snoop Dogg does. Again, adoption is a thing. Or it sounds like she had a baby together. So, could be surrogacy. Or one of the moms had her egg fertilized in vitro. That she went to a sperm bank and had it done. There are plenty of ways to explain to a little kid that maybe she had it artificially done, or adoption, or surrogacy. Or you could just, if you don't want to answer, say, I don't know. And either the kid will, ask someone else who feels comfortable telling him, or he'll eventually forget about it. I mean, this is a little kid, little enough that they're watching Lightyear, so possibly they don't have that much of a attention span. Hell, I've seen adults have the attention span of goldfish. So, yeah, you could just simply say, I don't know. This is not a traumatic experience. Just because you don't know the answer to something is not traumatizing. Seriously, what are you going to do when your grandson is older and possibly wants you to help with their homework? At what point are you going to be traumatized because you don't know the answer to something? It's stupid. It threw me for a loop. I'm like, what part of the movie was this? Snoop continued. Huh? Were you watching the movie or were you not? The gin and juice rapper and the voice coach elaborated on his reluctance towards LGBTQ plus representation in films like Lightyear, saying, these are kids. We have to show that at this age. They're going to ask questions I don't have the answer. Okay, number one, again, I don't know is a perfectly valid answer. Granted, it'll annoy the kids because they want you to have the answer, but if you don't have the answer, perfectly okay to not have the answer. But we have to show this at this age? I'm sorry, do we not show straight couples kissing? Do we not show straight couples having children? Yes, we do. So what's the problem? Now, again, you can either talk about adoption, because that's probably the easiest for a kid to understand, or just say you don't know. And let somebody else who is better able to explain it to the kid. Because I guarantee you, most kids will understand explanations. You don't have to get technical. You can just say maybe they adopted. Maybe that's what they meant. Or maybe one of them got pregnant by a different means. But if you don't feel comfortable, depending on how old the kid is, you might not feel comfortable talking about that. I don't know is a perfectly good explanation, and they can ask somebody else. But to be traumatized and being afraid to go to a children's movie because you can't explain something? I'm sorry, what? I mean, I watch movies with my parents, and not all of them I can explain what something means. Does that traumatize me? No, it doesn't. I'm just like, okay, they're not in the know. I'm going to either be able to explain it, or this is a reference I don't understand. And I mentioned, I don't know. I don't know what this means. And they're fine with that. Why? Because they understand that not everything I have an answer to. If he doesn't like the answer, have him ask someone else. Again, you do not have to know everything in order to take a child to a movie. There are pop culture references that go 10 feet over my head. I don't whine that those pop culture references exist because not everybody's going to know everything about every part of pop culture. So there are going to be references I don't get. And there'll be references I get that other people don't. So, again, I don't know is a perfectly valid answer. Entertainment Weekly has reached out to a representative for Snoop for comment. Lightyear tells the origin story of the famed spaceman figurine from the Toy Story franchise, voiced by Chris Evans. Buzz Lightyear's best friend and co-officer in the film, Alicia Hawthorne, voiced by Uzo Aduba, becomes stranded on an alien planet with several other members of their crew, where she's seen in one montage marrying and raising a child with her partner Kiko. Okay. The montage drew controversy before the film was ever released for marking not just Disney's first prominent LGBTQ plus character, but depicting its first same-sex kiss. The kiss was almost axed from the film's theatrical cut, but a mass uprising of employees at the House of Mouse animation subsidiary Pixar worked to reinstate the shot. So, it's a montage. So for all we know is that we don't even know how the baby happened. It could have easily been adoption. It could have been something more technical. But it could have easily been adoption then. So that is literally a good answer. Why is it when straight people adopt, it seems like the most normal thing in the world, but people just lose their absolute shit and are incapable of basic thinking when it comes to LGBT plus people? Yeah, they can adopt. It's perfectly okay. I'm not sure why people are flipping the fuck out. The comments by the 53-year-old rapper born Calvin Cortazar Brodus Jr., have led to calls for him to be replaced as the headline entertainer at the upcoming Australian Football League's Grand Final. The rapper has previously been criticized for homophobic and transphobic remarks, such as calling Caitlyn Jenner a science project. You know, I'm not a fan of Caitlyn Jenner. Not a fan at all. I mean, her politics goes against her ability to exist, which I just do not understand people who do that. However, a science project? I'm sorry, just because you don't understand shit, that makes them a science project? I just can't. And using an anti-gay epithet in a 2014 Instagram caption. So, that's the end of the article. But, yes, he is most definitely a homophobe and apparently a transphobe as well. But once a bigot, always a bigot. I just do not understand why this makes people so uncomfortable. Just because you can't explain shit to your kid, or in this case, your grandkid. I mean, people have made shit up to their kids and grandkids before in order to explain stuff. Or, again, I don't know is an answer. Now, I'm curious if he is going to be dropped, because in Australia, they're not, in general, homophobic. I can't remember if it was Australia. No, wait, it was in New Zealand where there was a marriage proposal by a gay man. So maybe Australia is more homophobic. I don't know. I take that back. Maybe they are. But now, I don't like it when, people are like, oh, this person is a shitty person, so you should drop him as an act. Because it's one thing for the organizers to say we disavow their views, so we're going to drop them. But to have an active campaign, I mean, that is certainly free market, which I'm sure a lot of people who are screaming for free market hate it when it affects them. But at the same time, do I think homophobes should not be allowed to make a living? No. No, I don't. Because unlike the bigots who seem to think that those are bigoted against should just lay down and die, I don't think they should do that. I think that everybody should have a chance at being able to make a living. Now, will this pressure campaign work? Don't know. Snoop Dogg definitely isn't in a position where he has to beg for money. So he has that going for him. But, so I don't know. I don't know if I like about that. But yes, he is definitely a shitbag. Because he could, instead of running his mouth, he could learn shit. He could learn about, how gay people can adopt. Or maybe that they use science to create a baby. Which, oddly enough, straight people can do. So, again, I don't know why, when it comes to the LGBTQ community, people seem to lose their ability to think, as if gay people do something totally different than straight people in order to have a kid. It just is mind-boggling how there's this LGBTQ plus panic amongst certain people that they become incapable of being able to think. They just panic when they see gay people. So yes, Snoop Dogg is 100% a homophobe because he's obviously freaked out about gay people. And yes, I'm pretty sure if there was a subject matter that his grandson asked him about that had nothing to do with LGBT plus and any other subject, he would either answer or say, I don't know. But when it comes to this topic, he has an absolute meltdown. And now he's afraid to watch children's films because gay people exist. Anyway, that is the end of that video. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.